Thank you. And you know what? What is your power?
If you have little girl problems out there, you married, you single, you got a girlfriend, someone help you out from here, right? Holidays is fast, holidays coming up all this time.
Okay, here we get a little deeper. You're a young guy.
You tell her, can't have it, nah. Big on it.
Hey, we're back. We got Myron with Day-to-Day Motorsports coming to sit in today. And we'll just go right to him. We asked some of these questions earlier. Do you think, when they talk about someone as black, white, Hispanic, Arab, do you think the media, or whatever it is, powers, or even the person saying it, is creating an us versus them mentality to put someone in a superficial group based strictly on their skin color or outer appearance?
I mean, I don't think it's a us versus them mentality. I think it's more of just we like general labeling things.
Humans, like
Yes.
people do.
Humans in general, we like labeling things. We like having things in the understanding. You know, that's what it's called, organization in our world. And to be able, when you do things in all factors of life, well, you do it in all factors of life, and sometimes for good, sometimes for bad. And that same trait happens to when we look at other people. We kind of label, we kind of put in a box. If you're playing basketball, all the big people,
Okay.
all the skinnier people, all the fast guys, all the tall guys. It's kind of that same thing. Or when you're sitting at a light, there's 12 cars, 3 lanes, 4 cars in each lane. Well, you have the EV cars, you know, the ones that are slower, you know. But that's our way.
But that's a good thing. But when it comes to people, to human beings, isn't it enough to say, hey, I'm from Maryland or from the United States? I'm from Canada. Hey, I come from Russia or whatever. Isn't that enough? Why do we get into, oh, I'm black, I'm white, I'm...
Alright, because that wasn't how it was built.
And I'm going to say it again.
Like you
But
built
can't
it
we break down what was built?
Down
Yeah.
to the doctrine and the
Can't we do that?
application.
It's how it was
That's what
built,
has
and
to
you're
be
trying
said.
to,
Deconstruct.
yes, but that's going to be way hard.
That's
now,
what we're
bro.
doing here today is deconstruction.
I mean, yes, I get what you're
And
saying,
once
but
again-
it's hard when you're going against the grain of what was built. You build a certain system
Exactly.
to be looked and done a certain way. Well, now you have 300 million people born through that system. I mean, you can take, 5,000 and change something, but that's like 0.0001.
Nah, bro. Just like they changed it with the fact remain that you don't have to self-identify with what you are. They can do it.
We can do it.
It's
We can
just
do
that
it.
they don't
Right.
want to. Let's be real, bro. It comes down to the applications. It comes down to that because when you apply for anything, that's what happens. Your mind state goes right back. Because it doesn't say you don't want to answer the question. You have to answer that question, or you won't get your loan. You won't get your car. They know what they're doing. But if you select, I don't want to answer the question if I'm a disability. I don't want to select the question if I'm a veteran or if I serve the military. I don't want to self-identify about what I am. You could do all of that. You could put anything for all those. You don't have to answer the question. But when it comes down to your ethnicity or your race, you have to answer that question, champ.
Well, I would say yes. I would say it's changing a little bit more because of the digital world. Before the internet, that was 100%. Because of the internet, so for example, things that I do in my side times, I trade stocks. So in the stock market, it's like you're just a number.
Yeah.
There's no glass ceiling. You're just a number, and
When
you
you
can
signed up for it. When you signed up for it, though.
still even with that, you don't have to put in your race to sign up
I
for
signed
a
up for
brokerage.
TD Ameritrade,
Well,
and I had to.
I have an interesting question to you. I want to tell you guys a little story and tell me what you think about this. And Alana, you can speak up as well. So I was on the phone with someone the other day, and they said, sometimes I'm afraid of my own people on the metro. And I said, who are your people? Right, and I said, who are your people? And this person said, black people. And I said, so let me stop you there. You're saying you're afraid of anyone with any discernible African ancestry, but you're also saying that black people are comprised of anyone with any discernible African ancestry. They could be from Panama, let's say. They could be from Brazil, Puerto Rico. That seems like a big net of who's black now. because we're just saying, and they're your people. But if I walked down the street and said I saw a guy with blonde hair and blue eyes and said he's one of my people, I would sound like a guy from the KKK, wouldn't I? If I identified him as my people.
If he had hair, I don't think so, because didn't they bald their head off?
Well, no, let's say I was, let's say,
I don't know.
I would sound like a Nazi almost.
A neo-Nazi, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
but see what I'm saying is when people do that, it doesn't really matter who's doing it. It's the same thing. Does that?
It brings us
No,
right back.
it does matter who's doing it, because racism has different weights. It's saying an even weight of racism, and white racism is much more heavier than any other race racism, because like there is no for minorities, there is no world without white people. White people can live in a world in America where they live with only just white people around. For minorities, the where you live in the hood, the person who owns that building, that landlord is a white person. The person who owns the buildings down the street, they're all white people. So there's no, you always live with white people, even though you don't live directly
but people
in
of
the same
European
place.
ancestry are by far the smallest minority in the world.
But not here.
They're more.
Hold on.
Okay, not in the United States, but and again, at the same time, we could say, okay, the United States, as it is currently, well, as it was sort of founded, obviously, because it was, before that, it was, the Aboriginal people here of the United States, right? We call them American Indian. And then they were, whatever you want to use, conquered. So you had Europeans Western European take over the United States, right? So people of European ancestry are the ones who sort of came here and created what this is. And other people came, which is great, so we have a big melting pot of people from,
He said a
God
melting
knows,
pot.
whatever you want to call it, man.
Burning pot.
He said melting.
Yeah.
I don't know that. See, some people might say that's. Some people might look at that as like that's a racial slur. What do you mean
What,
by
melting
melting
pot?
pot?
Well,
Because everybody's blending in from their
Yes.
view. You see what I'm saying? See, now that's when you have some people that come in like, hold on, because they're strong-minded in their culture. They're saying to you like, listen, me being black, a big melting pot, that's disrespectful because we didn't ask to be here. Then they go and self-identify like, how did all this happen? You see, then it goes right back into a whole big melting pot, like you said, of emotions and distinction of what really happened. And what
I get
place
that.
goes back to what Myron said. You cannot escape the who.
But here's
And you
the
cannot
question.
escape the what.
Is someone here to blame that's alive today for it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Let's be real. The people that keeps it going. What happens when you get a recipe from your grandmother? You keep it going. You break it down to everybody else. So what's happening right now? They get that same recipe from their people that came down.
So you
and they
think
pass it on.
racism is passed on, hatred is passed on?
Oh,
through
absolutely.
families,
You
right?
know. Don't do that. You know.
It's like,
Oh no, I'm not saying do it.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
asking.
you
I think
know.
it happens in both sides. You get to benefit from, like, she gets to benefit from certain things, right?
Right.
Well, in that same sense, and there's going to be certain things that are going to hinder because of that also that comes with that.
Because she could pass.
Right. So
She could-
when
she could
people
pass
look at
either way.
Alana, they think she's a quote unquote white kid, 100%.
Nah, ain't no
European.
way. I got cousins that look like her. Ain't no way.
But
Ain't no way. That skin don't even. If you look 1, 2, and 3, ain't no way that child got black in her blood. Everybody will tell you. There ain't no
But
way.
here's
You
the
see that
question.
here?
But you
see
use
that? Nah,
the
ain't
term
no
black
way.
synonymous.
Flawless is in there.
You use
Flawless
the term
is in there.
black synonymous with African. And my what I'm trying to say is,
All right, African American. You
Right.
can tell that she has that in her.
but
Absolutely.
if we were trying to move forward in 2022 and get away from these labels,
Well,
right?
why do we even say African American? Do we say, and I know we do Irish American, but that's all bullshit.
Because we have to identify.
You're American, right?
What did you say? We can't escape them. I told you the who and the what. The what is that we always have to identify with Spanish American, Mexican American. Why we always got to have American after our name?
Exactly.
Why we always got to bear their last name if they say that we're not from here? There's a lot of black people who say that my last name is a white man's name because we went ahead and we researched and that's a plantation name.
Right.
Why do we still have to identify with them? It's a lot of things that you got to look at.
Well, you could change your name. I mean, if
See,
that's, I'm
look at
just
that.
saying
But
that if that was
you
your
see what
point.
I'm saying? You see, we have to change. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly,
Back to what
we
you
shouldn't
said.
have to.
We have to change.
Oh, no, I'm just
What
saying
about
have
them
to.
changing? Is what we're trying to say.
Well, you're talking
Yeah,
about
okay.
the
But
name,
you
you're
just
talking
talk about
the name.
last names. He's talking about last names.
No,
Nothing
no,
else.
no,
We're not
not-
saying you
not-
have to change. You said, why do we have these names that don't even belong to us? That's
a
why.
metaphor.
That's
Look
what
at it.
Malcolm X did, right?
What?
Change his name.
Oh, you can also go back to say, well, what did Marcus Garvey do with the Garveyites? You see what I'm saying? We could sit there and talk about this all day, but the problem is, I'm going to give you the resource.
Yeah.
They have to stop themselves. It's not we
agree
are
with
the
you.
control deficit. You understand? We are the control deficit.
Yeah.
We are controlled.
Like, yeah, I get what you. So it's. I say think of it like this, right? So the why is this, right? White people still control America, right? So you're asking why do we still do things today? It's because some people call it propaganda. I'm gonna, in this sense, I'm gonna say it's marketing, right? White people have had the greatest marketing schemes to do the things that just to the understanding of why we do things
exactly
now.
what it is.
So, for example, hold on one
Let me
second.
just
Oh,
parentheses.
wait.
Stop it.
This
Parentheses.
guy right here.
Just to put in the middle, and you continue. 10 white people own America.
Well,
Okay.
yeah,
Nah,
yeah.
nah.
I mean, well,
Finish that mindset.
regardless, it's just a success. We are where we are because of your ancestors' success. So, for example,
Whose ancestors?
You see what I'm saying?
No, I'm curious because my dad's Greek.
no, we are
Oh,
where we are
man.
because of the success of the forefathers here, right? And then the people who came after them. And one of the biggest reasons I say that is because when we get married, you go and you buy your girlfriend, your fiance, a ring, a diamond ring.
Yes.
Right? That is commonplace. Why do we do that? We only do that
Marketing.
because it's the greatest marketing scheme ever. But it's commonplace. So it went from marketing to commonplace. It's in everybody's head is breeded to get a diamond. But it's,
No.
all it was is marketing.
I get that, but when people say your ancestors, right, and you say white people and people stereotype, that's where I have the problem. My dad's Greek. No, I'm serious. Because when you look at somebody walking down the street as his ancestors, well, no, it's not true.
But
Watch
it's,
this.
it's,
You know
it's,
what
it
I
comes
mean?
back to, like you said, when you file your job, what do you
I don't
put?
check anything white. I don't. Because I don't
watch
believe
this,
in
watch,
it.
Watch this. Race and the word stereotype is the same daggone thing.
Yes.
When I talk to you and say stereotype, you probably gonna say I got a JVCR, Bows are beats. You understand what I'm telling you? Stop the bull crap.
What?
Like nothing. See, that went over your head because I'm
No, I got it. I got
but
it.
You know what I'm talking about.
No, I get
You
what
see
you're
what I'm
saying.
saying?
But
So
but-
stereotype and race is the same thing. Are we talking about race on the foot? Well, what does that have to do with? What does that do with your culture?
It has nothing to do with humanity.
What does stereotype have to do with the actual stereotype? If you go with what stereotype you got? It's all bull crap. These are
I agree with you.
You mean
Once
what
again-
type of stereo?
I agree with you.
Huh?
once again. Now I don't
I
mean
didn't go any
that.
further.
I think
Yeah,
you look differently outside than the world looks to you. Because, like you say, you might not click white on that
Right.
on any of those papers.
'Cause I don't believe it.
Because you don't.
Right.
But
Right.
the rest of the world, though, looks at you as a white guy, regardless if you want to identify that or not.
Thank
Right,
you.
and I
You get what I'm
refuse
saying?
to.
Like-
Yes, and I refuse to.
But still, though, your reality is still the same. You can refuse the reality as you walk around it, but your reality of what makes up your reality, the rest of the people, is still going to first
But
look
I
at you
can-
and say you're
And
white.
But
then
I
for
can
them,
assert
they're
that the
gonna be
word
crazy.
race scientifically is based on a lie. I can assert that.
I mean, yes,
can.
yes, you can. But we are. You ask why we're here where we're here. Those
Right.
are the reasons why we're here
Right.
where we're here. Because, like, yes, you can want to look a certain way, but still to the rest of the world, you are who you are.
I got it. People want to identify you, stereotype you, and label
And that's what you
yes,
said,
100%
labeling.
agree. But here, I have an interesting question for you
What's the
guys.
question?
This is a good one. And Ruben, you can chime in. Alana, I don't know if you know so much about this. In terms of U.S. median household income, and I went back to 2018, pre-pandemic. What? No, you're looking around like that. You're not going to believe who are the #1 ethnic groups in the U.S. And it's not people labeled as white or European ancestry in terms of median household income. Who do you think it would be?
Latin descent.
Yeah.
Asians.
A form. And Ruben, who do you know who it might be?
Hey, hold up.
Median
Time out.
household income?
In terms of
U.S. median household income, yeah.
I would have said the Asian as well.
People from India. India is
India,
the
well-
number one.
Well, India is Asia.
But you know why I said Latino?
average median household.
Yeah, why you
Because,
say Latino?
because listen to me, I'm be let's
Because they have 4 jobs.
Nah, that's not even it. Because I know some that don't have 4 jobs. They own their own business. They came here. What I'm saying to you is like I know for a fact that they work hard. Like I got a guy that works for the government, and literally he came, went to never went to college, graduated high school, and now he literally has his own office within that building. You see what I'm saying? They work hard.
A lot of people work hard, though.
No, ho. But once again, it comes down to what Myron said, right?
Yeah.
Right? Well, no, wait. It comes down to what Myron said, right? And how did that happen for you, though? See, as in Myron said, it'll be harder for us to achieve that because of the mind state that we already had coming into it.
That you were, are you saying that your parents instilled? On
Oh.
what mindset? I'm not trying to offend you. I'm saying which mindset.
I don't want to take that as offense. I mean, sometimes your parents can be the biggest dream crushers that you have. Sometimes your parents could be the biggest hypocrites that you know. Sometimes your parents could be the underachiever and they want you to overachieve what they didn't.
Right.
So
Exactly.
at the end of the
Yeah,
day,
I get what he's
you
saying.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But I'm not
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about our parents
Yeah.
because that happened to our parents and
Yeah.
that happened to their parents.
Yes.
See, this right here is called cultural distinction. You see what I'm saying? So they're trying to extinct our culture. You see what I'm saying? So our mindset they gave us, it needs to be deprogrammed, and that's what he's coming back to. You see
Wait,
what I'm saying? As the
extinct. Wait, what
forefathers-
culture? Which culture? I apologize, guys.
African
I'm a little
American.
confused. Okay.
African
all right.
American. You know what we talking
No,
about.
no, I
Don't
didn't
give me
know.
the
No,
bluff.
'cause your family's
Don't
Jamaican.
bluff me.
I know you. Your
But-
family's
but-
Jamaican.
yeah,
I'm trying to
wait,
figure out which
But
one.
see, even I'm Jamaican, they will say it like this: "You're African American," right?
Okay.
They be like, "You're African, brother. You're
Okay.
African. I don't care if you're from Jamaica. You African, brother." Ain't that what they would say?
I don't know. That's
That is
confusing.
because they would say that we all came. Don't hit me with the flim flam. Listen, they would all say that we came from Africa, and then they would all argue this: slavery started in Africa and it went to all the other regions and countries around. That's
Well,
what
no,
they would
slavery
say.
didn't start in Africa. I mean, slavery's been in every continent all over
Absolutely,
the world.
there was Mexican slaves, there were Indian slaves.
Well, yeah, I mean, slavery.
But what culture had it the worst? That's what they would argue.
Well, I don't know who had it the
The one
worst.
that stayed around and people still talk about it.
That's right, and that's why I'm proud of you because you know too.
But
Why would
who
people still talk about it if it
sold
wasn't that bad?
Africans into slavery?
Let you answer that question.
I know that a lot of the Africans that were sold were from tribal warfare. They were already slaves.
So basically slavery started in Africa.
No. Slavery was already rampant before 1600.
And wait,
on every
rampant where?
continent.
Rampant where?
Every continent had slaves.
But-
There were slaves in Europe. There were slaves
But
in
you identified
Asia,
with what
China.
first? You didn't identify with that first. Which one did you identify with first?
What do you
The
mean?
one that you are more familiarized with.
I wouldn't say I'm more familiar. People would
But you
argue.
already, she said it for you, said it, but you beating around the bush. You know what you
So
said
I have a
first.
quick thought. though.
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Like, and my thought is because you guys said like what is like the worst is like being enslaved, but I feel like the worst is all the places where people were just wiped out. Because at least we're still here to tell a little piece of a story where there's whole civilizations who just were wiped out and everything about their civilization was just destroyed, and we may have a small artifact, and I feel like that was probably like the worst of any form of racism. It's just you just destroy everything about
Well,
something.
we can talk about what Turkey did to Armenia. And
things like
this
that
is
where
genocide,
you
so
just
yeah, and
destroy
that is still in
everything.
my mind, and I identify
Everything
with that a
about it.
lot.
You just don't
So
exist.
cultural genocide is what they also did to us.
Well,
Because you have to identify with their history and what they made for you. But when you try to go back and identify where you came from and what you're about, how hard is it for you to? It's almost like me me having a rabbit and raising it with dog. When I put it with other rabbits, it's gonna be like, what the heck is this? I don't know this lifestyle. I don't know what this is about.
When you, if I, f- yeah, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, but that happened, you know, how many years ago, how many decades? We're trying, this is what we're talking about. That
But how
we're trying
you know
to
what
stop.
happened decades ago. How do you familiarize with yourself with an identity that you had no idea that you had in the first place?
Well, the same could be said for Ruben, because his family's from Panama, dad from Nicaragua. He has African ancestry, he has Spanish ancestry, and he also has indigenous Indian. So who's he supposed to identify with? He can't be confused. He's just here in 2022 as a man, right?
He identifies how he wants.
Exactly, and I have my own culture that really has nothing to do with nation or other people.
You gotta talk to Paul.
So,
He asked the question for you.
no, I'm answering
that's what I'm
you
saying.
because
I didn't ask the question about that.
you know what? I'm looking at you because just before this question, you were talking about who do you identify the most in terms when you're thinking about slavery, right? And the reason you think it's the African Americans here, right? I mean, this is it's a huge piece of history, of course, but we are living in the United States. You were born here.
He wasn't actually.
You grew up here. How old were you?
Hey, that joke is
Yeah,
crazy.
dude,
They
that's-
fall crazy, but listen.
Weren't you born in Jamaica?
So what happens is that of course you are going to
Yeah.
think of the United
Your
States.
family's Jamaican. Then.
Mm-hmm.
Hello,
Okay, all right, sorry.
you're
All right, go
dude.
ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
You didn't know where his family was from? Jamaican, right?
I thought he was born there.
It's okay. I don't
Anyway.
mind being born out. Hey,
But people in Sweden, when they mention slavery, they don't think of this country right away. They don't think of African Americans.
so you've been there. You talked to them, or this is just your opinion?
How do you know that they don't think about that right away? Are you?
Now you're trying to force feed me your opinion and have me accept it like it's truth. That's once again what we're trying to escape from. Is
You
it
know-
not right? Is this what this panel is about?
Get a book
Escaping
about it.
from a mind state that they're trying to program me on.
But no, I agree. But here's the other thing that we're talking about.
So,
in a
So I came here to
2022.
program him.
Yeah. In a perspective of 2022, right?
Dude, I'm telling you something that is not a lie. And where did you hear? Have you been to Sweden? What the fuck kind of a question is that?
Well, yeah,
Huh?
because
I have read it in books.
So,
Okay,
so now
and
he
it's
gets
a fact.
over aggressive to pursue his answers. You know what I'm saying? Once again, that's something that they
Well,
do.
let's swivel
Who's
a bit
they?
on that.
No, you
Let's-
want me to
who's
tell you-
they?
you want me- when
No, who's
people-
they?
The day is when
Uh-huh.
individuals get confused or they don't have a point to make and they feel like they feel the pressure.
Okay, well,
That's what they do.
let's swivel and pivot on that for a minute. So, in 2022, right? Do you feel happy as a person? Does it matter? I mean, you're the sum of all of your ancestors, right? But you're just a girl. But you're just an American girl, right?
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
you are. What your ancestors are.
So-
They make you.
Are you okay with that? Just being an American girl?
Sure, I guess.
Okay.
But why does she have to be labeled as an American girl?
Well, that's what she is.
I mean, you see what I'm saying? It comes right back down to it again, like I said.
Well, I mean,
It's-
she was born here in the quote-unquote, and I don't mean it as racist, melting pot. Melting pot is just what I mean. Everybody comes here and sort of blends together.
I think
Wait a minute.
the labeling.
It's her culture. A while ago you were talking about culture and how you have your own. They're trying.
It's her culture,
They're trying to
American
change
is
her.
her culture, her ancestry.
I think it's
You tell me.
American. I think it's
Why
American.
don't
I
you
would
ask
say
her?
this, right? People here like to label because it's 300 million people on just this land, right? So it's like we're all looking for a sense of uniqueness and identity, like to be different from just the other person next to us. So some people say, well, yeah, I'm an all-American, or I'm a Southern girl, or I'm a Texas girl. It's just things that we say should just be unique. Because it's like you could be part of a Mustang car club, but all you can have different type of, well, I'm a profile Mustang, well, I'm a high top speed, like, you know, it's just ways of just trying to, you know, make yourself unique in a world, because we all kind of like, you know, everybody wants to kind of stand out. Everybody has that same to kind of move up and be, and as you can move up, you're just being better than the people around you. So we kind of put those things on us just so we can kind of like just stand out more. You know what I'm saying? It's like in this internet world, it's kind of like our search words, our keywords.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, okay,
you have
okay.
certain things that will, like, certain keywords will associate with you, certain keywords will associate with you and her, and, like, you know, and when we think about her, we'll think like all-American girl, you know, and that's kind of what, I guess, for her, she would want the world to think. Like, there might be a lot of things that are coming from America, but when you think all-American girl, think of me, you know, and that's what she wants her voice, I guess, to represent. So I feel like that's why we kind of all just kind of put label on things, just so, for good and for bad. For good and for
You
bad.
brought a lawyer with you to defend your case. I like it.
Oh no, her case was already fit. I just
It's
kind of
already
piggybacked
there.
just to make it,
Yeah.
to get in the conversation. I piggybacked off it.
So, like in a utopian ideal, right, we would say that we want to embrace history, but we can't live in the past, right? And we don't want to be judged for how we look. We want to be judged by the content of our character and the merits of what we've accomplished. Wouldn't that be great?
Are you religious?
I mean, it's religious, spiritual, whatever you want to call it, yeah.
So everybody said we don't want to live in the past, we want to look to the future, 2020. So why don't we rewrite a new Bible?
No, I'm saying we embrace the
I'm
past.
just asking you, why don't we just rewrite a new Bible? Because that was the past, right?
No, embrace the past and history, but we can't live in it.
Right, but if you don't
You live
remember
in-
it, then how do you know?
Well, that's what I mean by embrace.
Okay.
Embrace history in the past, but we can't live in the past. We can only live in the present moment because it's already gone.
So
5
but
minutes ago,
when
it's
you
gone.
say embrace,
Yeah.
is it so like? Is that mean accept?
For anybody, if you, whatever you want to think about your grandfather, for example, or great-grandfather, embrace it. Maybe you celebrate a certain day that reminds you of them.
All right, so let me ask you this, because
Yeah.
like we're in a world now where, like, you know, every other month they're taking down like a Southern statue somewhere.
Sure.
Are you okay with, you know, because there's a lot of people who still find like the statues are really, really racist, but there's a lot of people who are like you. It's like, well, certain things that are deemed racist but are part of the culture, should they accept? So are you for like, you know, taking down those statues?
My feeling on the statues are this. I think the statues have a place. What I would do them, and I'm only one idiot. I don't have the answer. I would take them, put them probably in a battlefield somewhere, and leave them as sort of a museum.
So
like history.
My follow-up question to you will be this. Okay, so you're taking statues that are been there for years, decades, right?
Yeah.
And you're saying that you would move them.
Yep.
Would that be embracing the past though? If they've been there for decades and now you're deciding to move them, wouldn't that be going against what you're saying?
No, because you're still embracing it by putting them in sort of a historical perspective in like a museum outdoors, but maybe not in a public place where if you want to see them, you got to go to a
Okay,
place to look
yeah,
for them.
yeah. So
they're
that, I
not
feel
your
like
face.
comes down to like just a multitude of just opinion when it comes to that. Because I
Yeah.
feel like there will be a good, you know, amount of people who would say no, that is not
You're
moving
correct.
it. Yeah. So I feel like it's kind of like everybody. I feel everybody's opinion is right. I feel like, you know, what we're looking at is in the middle of a courtyard. And we're all looking through our own little windows at that courtyard, right? We're all looking at the same thing, but we're all looking from a different window. So we're seeing a different part of the same really big picture. And what window or who got the corner room or the middle room, it really shows how it reflects how you see the same life. Because we all live in the same life, but we all look at it very differently. That same courtyard, just, you know, some of us got corner rooms, some of us got middle rooms, some of us got penthouses, but it's all looking at that same
Well, what's
life.
important is, you know, embrace is a word that maybe you should use when you talk about family, the history of that. But when we're talking about history of the world, and in this case we're talking about the United States, this history, number one, forget the word embrace, it should not be forgotten. What's happened should not be forgotten. Now, if I have a picture of my grandpa at my house, because, you know, it's part of my history, whatever, and he was such a great guy, you know, and I admired when I read about him, and suddenly I find out that the guy was a rapist and a racist, that picture is going down, and it's going to be burned, because we do have to remember the past. And those statues, I have no problem with taking them down. You know, if you're gonna have an image of that particular person, it should be in the Museum of Racism in America. We don't want to forget that face, period.
Right, we don't want to
'Cause if
forget
you
like the
forget-
Holocaust. Oh, sorry.
Right, because if you forget, it could happen again, and that's how you learn from those past experiences.
Wisdom from a child. Yes, for example, you don't want to forget the Holocaust, any of these things. But again, was my humble opinion, is don't destroy the statues. Put them like in a field where there was a battle. If people want to see it, go look at it. Those are the guys who fought. This is how the people felt at the time about those people. But we can all have our own feelings or
I think they should.
whatever that may be.
I'm of the opinion that they should be destroyed, period. And yeah, sure, have a picture in a book that talks about what happened. But, you know, go to South Africa, for instance, and people who died during the apartheid, and people who committed murders and crimes, that at some point back then, they were, you know, the criminals were taken as heroes. They're not anymore, so those pictures should go away. Their names should remain as a learning device of what crimes are. That's all.